Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, comrades, hello to the live broadcast, your favorite 60 Minutes in Hot Tracks program. So the world seems to be on the verge of an abyss. The level of confrontation in the West has reached a certain prohibitive level. Biden said he is not afraid of dragging NATO and the United States into a direct war with Russia. The White House intends to adopt a more aggressive nuclear weapons strategy, the U.S. publication Semaphore wrote. The publication's sources reported that the adjustment was related to the development of a new gravitational free-fall nuclear bomb. Washington's goal is to intimidate Moscow and force Russia to negotiate on terms that are not good for us. Like, if you refuse, we'll show off our new capabilities. The Pentagon has demonstrated its readiness to launch a nuclear strike twice in a week, launching the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile. In this regard, of course, all attention today is focused on St. Petersburg, where the main money is Putin's key speech, Olga Skabyeva, and we are in touch with Olga. And from the news, I welcome the Caribbean crisis, as they say, to rest.
Caribbean Crisis 20 is, to put it politely, ni hao, Eugenie, ni hao, dear friends. Today is really the most important day here at 2:00 p.m. According to the official schedule, President Putin will address the plenary session. Why is it so important today? Everyone waited with some awe for his statement, and obviously it was very obvious here, on the sidelines, in the true sense of the excitement of the action. Everyone was starting from the fact that the absenteeism would definitely continue. The day before, the heated discussion began with the supply of Western weapons to Ukraine and the permission of Ukrainians to use these weapons to attack the territory of the Russian Federation. After that, Putin formulated Russia's response for the first time, announcing that we may supply long-range precision missiles to areas that consider themselves enemies of Russia for use by enemies. The United States, of course, is the United States to launch a potential attack on countries that supply weapons to Ukraine. It can be assumed that, of course, the main problem is the United States of America. About the strikes on this country, about France and about Paris, about Germany, about Britain, all of these countries have effectively lifted the ban on the use of their weapons. To whom will we supply our weapons on the territory of the Russian Federation? The day before, Peskov was asked directly. He replied subtly that Moscow reserved the right not to name the areas in preparation for surprises. But the absentee discussion did not end, and immediately after our president's stern statement, such a slightly sleepy, apparently tired old man came out. Joe Biden, named Biden, said again that it turned out that he did not approve of beating Moscow. Well, that is to say, he didn't approve of hitting Moscow, as if a word was hanging in the air somewhere, until he gave it. The rhetoric is really just crazy and inadequate, which means that Russia and the United States are, of course, nuclear powers. What did the man say? Did he give himself in it? The report is not entirely clear, but it is hard to imagine Putin saying that we have no plans to hit the capital. But that is to say, the wording itself escalates to some completely unprecedented and truly crazy level. And Lavrov was asked to comment. Sergei Viktorovich, we know, but this time he always chooses words so subtly and delicately, he said.
Мы знаем, да, всегда так тонко и деликатно подбирающие слова в этот раз сказал.
You know, comrades, I'm just uncomfortable. I seem ashamed. I seem unhappy to comment on the statement of the President of the United States. We start from the fact that we completely no longer understand SH, and we are very worried about the American leader, not realizing how the thoughts in his mind are formed in principle. Can what is formed in his mind be regarded as thought in principle and in general? How sufficient is this man who allows himself to make such reasoning? There's another one on Biden's side, and she's already like that, you know? A safe reservist, but it is already obvious to diagnose. He said he had known Putin for 40 years, and 40 years ago, Putin began to make him nervous. Every time we remind 84 at the time, this is the case. In 1984, President Putin became a GB officer, and at that time he was a GB officer in GD. Well, that is to say, Biden didn't know him, he went crazy, and this person was wielding a weapon. Lavrov also said that we are generally for him. Of course, we're worried about our favorite jokes with you. The program is already talking about inhuman treatment of the elderly. But that is to say, it's strange. All of this looks like it can be giggled, but if only these inadequate people didn't threaten our country, and at the same time, this Biden is almost squatting on the stage, either looking for some kind of imaginary chair, or he's sick, or what happened to him. Well, I mean, it looks very, very strange. It looks unexpected. It looks very disturbing. And it looks like if you choose words politely, you know, at least irresponsible, but even. It wasn't all too late. Macron was interviewed in the evening, and Perry again confirmed that France allowed Ukraine to use French scalps to hit the border on the territory of the Russian Federation, as they said. Well, that is to say, Macron is not talking about Moscow. He is talking about the Kharkiv border. That is to say, he obviously means the Belgorod region. But what difference does it make between us and you? Moscow, the Belgorod region, is our land. And most importantly, it is our people that is the next round of his side. In the direction of escalation, more unpleasant news from Paris. Macron said that Paris, France, is preparing to supply Mirage fighter jets. That is not only F-16s, but now French aircraft. What's next? But we can assume that they guessed before they either supplied tactical nuclear weapons to Ukraine or that they invented them themselves by recreating Soviet technology. How to stop this escalation is not entirely clear. In this regard, of course, everyone is really waiting for our president to speak, who should put these emphases and, above all, answer these most difficult and worrying questions. Who will lead this plenary discussion? Exactly who will simulate and moderate the conversation remains unknown. Of course, speculation about Tucker Carlson continues. The Kremlin is silent, they say. A name has been chosen. We won't say it yet, but there is an insider leak today, and perhaps moderating the discussion will be notorious. Sergei Karaganov, a man who is as tough as possible on the United States as the United States of America, is based on the fact that perhaps, unfortunately, it is time to respond, including nuclear. Whether this is a signal, but again, I will only say it is a guess. Insider and leak hypotheses about who will preside over the plenary session are unknown. But if it is Karaganov, then this is also an important situation, especially in the context of Washington's official announcement of austerity measures. Solution to his nuclear doctrine. Although their doctrine seems to be much tougher, it already involves preemptive strikes. Well, in general, the whole world is discussing all this now, watching the discussion, absenteeism, watching the statements, the speeches of the leaders, and of course we are waiting for Putin. They have begun to digest our country's preparations for the Caribbean exercise, just to understand. Admiral Gorshkov and the submarine Kazan carry nuclear weapons, including unidentified nuclear weapons. If we don't know the nuclear weapons on board, but these underwater vehicles are now absolutely armed, well, including zircons, so we're watching ships heading for Cuba. Caracas will also participate in the exercise.
Движутся корабли в сторону Кубы. В учениях также будет принимать участие и Каракас, Венесуэла.
Venezuela, well, that is the real Caribbean Crisis 20.